Hello, Nomads, and welcome to episode 50 of the Nomads of Fantasy. Yeah, big 5-0. My name is Eric, and I will be your host for this episode. And as always, I have with me David.
Kill your cravings at the Circus of Values!
That was actually really fucking good.
Somebody practiced that one earlier.
I was going to say, you had to be practicing that all day.
Thank you so much.
That was awesome. And I have Brandon with me as well.
I chose more. I chose the impossible. I chose rapture.
Dun, dun, dun.
Beautiful. Haunting. And joining us for this special episode is Mike from Games My Mom Found.
We all make choices, but in the end, our choices make us.
Aw.
Beautiful.
It's poetic.
Love it. If you happen to recognize these quotes, these are from the 2007 video game Bioshock.
Hey.
But we'll get to that a little bit later in Act 2. As always, in Act 1, we do our little catch-up section. So this time, see what we've been up to. Let's start with Brandon.
We always say real quick. Well, it's going to be really quick because I've been playing Bioshock.
Same for me.
And then our
our
following episode is going to be an indie video game spotlight, I believe. So just video games take up a lot of your time, and I don't know. I've been busy, so.
Mike knows.
I do
Plays
know.
video games for his podcast every week.
So honestly, like the only thing new to me is I don't know if he's too young for this, but my kid Jack, he's been playing Plants vs. Zombies games, and he's been playing Roblox. So he's pretty good with the first person, third person kind of stuff. And I'm very into Overwatch, and with Eric getting into it not too long ago with us, and we're thinking about even playing again maybe after this recording, is I wanted him to play Overwatch and see how he does. And it was just cool watching my kid play a game, and I've been watching him play.
Well, he's playing Plants vs. Zombies, so he's
Yeah.
got the first person shooter controls down, right?
That's third.
This game's much faster though.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
I forget how quick Overwatch
I thought that.
is.
Okay.
They throw you right in
Plants
there
are-
too.
The Battle for Navy is basically Overwatch with a simple roster. Yeah.
I mean, as long as you got the movement and the camera down,
Yeah.
working those control sticks at the same time,
Yeah.
could figure it out.
Yep. But honestly, that's it. Other than that, just jamming on these games for the episode. So, Dave, what about you?
I also have not done much outside of Bioshock. Chugging along with Moon Knight. That one's going good. Still recommend that one, not knowing anything about Moon Knight going in. Oscar Isaac's fantastic. And
Is it getting better as it goes along? Is it, or is it like increasing in quality?
I'd say it's about the same as where I started. It's up in the, I don't know, I'd give it like
Is it one of
sevens
the
and eights.
better Marvel shows that has come to Disney Plus?
Yeah, it's cool because it's, I don't know, like Egypt stuff, so you don't see a lot of that stuff. Anyway, it's like a Marvel meets the Mummy kind of shit going on.
Okay, that's a good pitch. That makes me.
That makes me want to watch it.
But it's still got, yeah, I mean, it's definitely worth watching. It's good. Like you're not going to get any, it's still got that Disney Marvel magic to it where it's got the production quality, but it's also kind of kid friendly at the same time. But yeah, that one's definitely good. So there's only 6 episodes in the season, so 2 weeks left, so not too bad. And the other one I kind of wanted to give a little shout out to. This is a phone game, and it's not even a game. Do you guys remember, us old people, back in the 80s, you had those, they're like D&D books, choose your own adventure books, where turn to page, if you want to fight the dragon, turn to 44.
Love choose your own
I
adventure.
don't think I've talked about this on here. If I am, you can just cut this all out again. But it's actually an Android app. It may be on Apple as well, and it's got kind of it's called D&D style RPG, and it's in quotes choices game. So it's basically a choose your own adventure novel where and they've got different I don't know what you call it, series or whatever. So they have like a wizard series and a rogue series and a paladin series, and if you're gonna get it, I would recommend just spending the $10 so you don't have to flip through ads and like do all that kind of garbage, because that's kind of super annoying. But I'm usually playing it before bed, reading a couple chapters, dying, casting some magic spells, having to go back. It's more or less an interactive D&D book, which I don't know. It's fun. It's lighthearted. It gets kind of raunchy sometimes, which is kind of hilarious, but it does have humor in it too. So
Okay.
it's definitely an interesting read. It fits in that. I guess you could fit it into like that Vox Machina kind of style humor here and there. So, if you're froggy, it's out in the App Store. It's free to download, and you can just go grab it. D&D style choice game. So that's it for me. How about Mike?
Well, I've been playing many games because for my podcast, I play a game every week, sometimes
Everybody
two.
loves it.
But one game that I played recently that I want to recommend to everybody is Rise of the Tomb Raider. It's the second of the reboot trilogy, but it's a lot like how Uncharted plays, but this one has a lot less death arenas where you're just fighting, 50 guys that all die and you go to the next room. It's a lot more about searching, salvaging supplies, salvaging ammo, and things that you need to craft. It's way, way better than it has any right to be.
Is this
And
the
it's
third one?
This is the second one.
This is the second one.
And you don't need to have played the first one's called Tomb Raider. They just call it Tomb Raider 2013. And then the second one is Rise of the Tomb Raider. And then the third one
Shadow
is
of the Tomb.
Shadow, yes.
I love all three of these games, so please gush about it. I love these games.
I went into it, like, I enjoyed 2013 a lot, but I wasn't expecting anything big out of Rise. And then I went into it, I'm just like, this is amazing. So,
Yeah,
highly recommend
I
it.
haven't
You're gonna
played
like
any
three.
of the
You're gonna like the third one.
Tomb Raider reboot series. I played like a couple hours, I think, of the first one, and I don't know, I kind of fell
First
off.
one
Got
is
a little bored of it.
really freaking depressing.
And then,
She's getting the shit beaten out
Yes.
of
Yeah,
her.
everybody
that.
dies in that one. Just like literally everybody dies. Spoiler for a 10-year-old game, but yeah, that one's sad. But it's the decent. Yeah, these games are definitely better than they should be because you think they've been pumping out these games for years, and just I don't know. Like she passed her heyday, and then when they redid it, I was like, okay, it's like Uncharted. That's obvious to make that
They
comparison.
learned a lot.
But he's
from
right
us.
though. Like when you play Uncharted, they're gorgeous, but you're just slaughtering people and then you stop and do a puzzle. There's more going on with the environment. There's more to do, and I like it. And it's just fluid. It just feels good. It's a tight game. And the graphics get better over time, and I think they all look good, but yeah,
It's just,
call.
I couldn't believe how good the second one is of that series. Like, I was not expecting that.
Yeah.
Cool.
Oh, I should mention, I played Burial at Sea too right before I did this.
Oh, did
And
you?
it
I
was
never
very-
finished
Oh,
it.
It's
Okay.
good. It's really good.
Yeah, I got to the end and I just stopped when I was playing as Elizabeth. Right? That's the second part of the
Yeah.
DLC.
Where
Yeah,
it's a completely different game where it's all stealth. You can't.
Yeah,
It's really.
Oh, that sounds terrible.
It's only terrible when you don't know
Is it-
there's a wheel and you end up not using any weapons because you think you screwed up and you just sneak up on everybody. Then it's not as much fun until you realize you're an idiot and hit the wrong key all of a sudden. That's what I did. But yeah, that's what I've been playing. Both of those.
okay. So
Cool.
there's a lot of Bioshock going on. All right, that's cool.
Yeah, a lot of Bioshock. I'll keep mine pretty short. I've been reading the Vader comic from 2017.
Oh.
Yeah.
Sweet.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, Dave has recommended it. I know Mike, you
Yep.
recommended it as well. And I through like 4 issues, so still pretty early, but I'm really enjoying it. Like it just kind of bridges that gap a little bit. It takes place directly right after Revenge of the Sith, so it's kind of a perfect thing right after we did our rewatch of Revenge of the Sith, going into Kenobi. It kind of tells the story of how Darth Vader rose to power and everything. But it's really cool because I didn't even think about, like, at this point in time, nobody knows who Darth Vader is.
Yeah.
The only person who knows who he is the Emperor. Like, because there's one point in the comic where he goes to, like, this Jedi outpost and there's stormtroopers there. And they start attacking him because they just think he's, like, some stranger, like some Jedi out
Yeah.
of nowhere that survived or whatever. And, like, Vader's just badass. In the beginning, like, he is definitely, you could tell he's not as strong as he is, later when you get to, like, A New Hope and everything. Like, he's still kind of learning how to use his dark side powers and everything. And, like, he doesn't even have his lightsaber at this point. That's his first mission, is to get a crystal by killing a Jedi so he can craft his lightsaber, and it's really cool seeing that stuff realized, because stuff I never really thought about before. Like, how did Vader get his lightsaber? So I don't know. That's just some cool stuff.
Wait till you get farther, because it's going to connect into Obi-Wan with the Inquisitors and stuff.
I can't wait.
So it's going to get really interesting for you to keep reading that.
Okay, that's perfect. Yeah, that's a perfect.
And this is
bridge.
canon, though, right? So if you're a Star Wars fan and you're looking for more, this is an option.
Yep, this is completely canon. Released in 2017. I've been reading it on Marvel Unlimited, which basically you have access to like all the comics. There's like a 3-month trial on Game Pass as a Game Pass perk that I picked up, so I've been reading that and like the Thrawn comics through there. So all the Star Wars comics are on there, since it's owned by Disney now. They're under that Marvel umbrella and everything, so it's really cool. So I've been doing that. The only other thing I watched, Don't Look Up on Netflix.
Yeah, I never did see that. Is it good?
I didn't.
I've heard legit
good.
mixed things on this.
Same.
It's got a good cast. I mean, it's got Leonardo DiCaprio, it's got Jennifer Lawrence, it's got Meryl Streep, it's got Jonah Hill. Like, it's a pretty star-studded cast.
Good, yeah.
And Leo is just fantastic as always in everything that he's in. It's kind of like a dark comedy sort of thing, which is kind of funny. Very like political satire as well. I mean, if you don't know the concept of the movie, they follow these scientists. Leo is a scientist. Jennifer Lawrence is a scientist. They find this comet that's hurtling towards Earth, and it's going to hit in like whatever it is, 3 months. I forget what the timeline is. And they basically have to, inform everybody, find a way to stop it. But I think it's almost to a scary level, like realistic of how the modern day world would handle this situation. Like it's kind of scary. And like Meryl Streep is the president of the United States, but you can tell, I mean, this movie was made during like the Trump administration. You can tell that she's supposed to be like the Trump kind of, parody there. So you can tell kind of how that was going, but it's like I said, it's almost to a scary level of how it would probably actually be if there was a comet hurling toward Earth that was going to.
I haven't seen this. I've been told that if I saw it, I probably would love it, and I also
I think you would really like it. I mean, I know you're into space stuff.
Yeah, and I like a good parody. I like when somebody's doing it's like commentary on what's going on in our world. But I also heard Idiocracy is kind of the same thing, where I should watch that.
Idiocracy is funny too.
Yeah, but it's like kind of making fun of what's kind of going on.
Yep, I recommend it. Just especially for the performances, like all of them were great. And it's, there's some funny moments, but there's also some like, realization moments that are like, oh wow, this is probably how it actually would be if this was happening in real life. So it's a good one. I would recommend it. But that was it for me. So we'll wrap up Act 1, and when we come back in Act 2, we will be talking about Bioshock.
Hey there, Mr. Bubbles.
And when you came in sight, dear, my heart grew light, and this old world seemed new to me. You're really swell, I have to admit. You deserve expressions that really fit you. And so I've racked my brain hoping to explain all the things that you do to me. By mere Mr. Shane, please let me explain. By mere Mr. Shane means you're great. By mere Mr. Shane, again I'll explain. It means you're the fairest in the land. I could say Bella, Bella, even say wunderbar. Each language only helps me tell you how grand you are. I've tried to explain by mere Mr. Shane. So kiss me and say you understand. By mere Mr. Shane, you've heard it all before, but let me try to explain. By mere Mr. Shane means that you're grand.
We are back. We are diving deep into the rapture. Bioshock. We're talking about Bioshock. Released in 2007, published by 2K Games, developed by Irrational Games. and other studios helped out as well. There was a lot of hands in this game. But yeah, we'll start like we always do with a little bit of social. I put out there just people's ask the question on Twitter at Nomads of Fantasy. Just your favorite memories of Bioshock, if you played it, all that good stuff. Our good buddy Jake Iveson, as always.
Sure.
Thank you, Jake. He said, Brandon, you'll like this. He said, Infinite was my first Bioshock game. Totally loved it. What an amazing story.
Interesting. It was his first. Okay.
It's funny because Infinite was also my first Bioshock game.
I knew that. Yes.
Oh.
My condolences.
This is
This is like kind of with you
played-
and Jake. Did you guys trade games and movies or something like that?
I
'Cause you
swear to
had the
God,
same
we have
experience.
like the same experience. Infinite was my first one, and I've never played any other ones. Like I said, this is the
Right.
first time I've played through
First
Bioshock
time in
1.
Rapture. Wow.
First time in
So you haven't
Rapture.
played Bioshock 2 yet.
I have not played Bioshock
Okay.
2 yet.
You
no.
should.
I plan on it. That'll be good. Also, Kilton One says the first Bioshock has an amazing atmosphere. You felt like you were in the world. Sound design on all of them is top notch and helps the immersion. I don't think you can go wrong playing any of them, but 1 and Infinite really hold up mechanically and story wise. And then
Sure. No, agreed.
I just want to shout out. Listen, if you haven't been following us on social, on Twitter or Instagram at Nomads of Fantasy, you really should, because Brandon came up with these great designs of these little factoids, these little did you knows that we've been posting recently, and we got a compliment on them.
we
Zach
did?
Check said, yeah, he just complimented us on one of the facts. He said, I knew the Circus of Values thing, but never noticed the Pac-Man one. That's awesome. So we posted a couple did you know.
I came up with the design, but Dave made
Dave
those
came up
ones.
with these facts. Yeah. A couple of the facts that we're
I
referencing.
didn't come up with anything. I googled.
Listen, hey, give
That's a
credit.
skill for some
Take the
people.
credit.
No,
Take the credit.
all
that
we're
I'm-
saying is that we
that
share
I'm giving.
duties, and like I came up with this art
Duties.
file, and then Dave knows what we used to be in a
duty.
marketing agency, so we can do this shit. Yeah, so Dave,
Brandon does the design. Dave does the facts, and I
the grunt
post
work.
them on our. Yeah, I post
Yeah.
them on our.
Hey,
social,
as a
so-
guy who worked in retail, people Googling, that's a skill that some people do not have. They do not have. Like, hey, how do I get to this store? Well, just look it up in Google. Well, I don't know how. You have a smartphone in your hand, you dumbass. Like, yeah. it's a
Oh
skill.
my god, dude. Yeah.
Point is, if you're not following us on social media, you should, because we post some actual good content on there. So you should check it out.
It's not just
so-
all butt jokes.
No. So I just want to shout that out really quick.
It's got to be half naked women on Instagram with tag podcast. That's what you do.
If you do follow us, tell a friend.
Tell a friend.
Or if you're listening here, tell.
Yeah, there's other nomads out there.
Doesn't take
Tell them
take
they're
much.
not alone.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, Bioshock. There's a lot to talk about here. But I figured, we could just start, since I feel like the world is the star of the show here. Let's just do a quick kind of rundown and do a little bit of, the world building and everything. So Mike, if you want to take it away and explain some of the story elements of Bioshock, that'd be great.
And real quick, the guy who came up with the game, who wrote it? Is that Ken
Brandon.
Levine?
Ken
Good.
Okay.
Levine or Levine.
What is it?
Levine.
I say Levine.
Levine. Oh, I just
Jeff
like when I
Keighley
know.
says Levine.
Yeah, I like when I know who made. It's like Ridley Scott, or you just know Steven Spielberg. It's just nice that you know the guy that's behind the vision.
He made 1 in Infinite and wasn't involved in 2 because he was working on Infinite.
Right. Yeah.
Oh.
2 is my favorite.
Interesting.
2 does not get the love it deserves. But the story of Rapture is very much hyper-capitalism, is one way to put it. The idea that this guy who wanted to do something that would have been frowned upon in society built a giant underwater city with the idea that everyone who comes here will be bright and great minds that will contribute to society. Anyone that would have been considered a loser or stupid is cast away and not involved in this utopia. It's a simple way to put it.
Yeah. No kings. No gods. only man.
Is a man not entitled to the sweat of his brow? That's a good quote. That would have been my quote if I wasn't hosting. But yeah, Andrew Ryan, he's the one that created the Rapture, which is, an underwater city. Like, just that setting alone is just intriguing.
Yep.
I feel like it's very unique. Like,
Absolutely.
There was nothing like this in video games. before this
Andrew
game came
Ryan
out.
builds it. He's like this Russian kid struggling in Russia, moves to the United States, and then he has his opinion on the world. He has like some fortune somehow. I forget how he got it.
Russian?
Yeah, and then he changed
I
his
thought
name
he was
to-
German.
I thought it was
That
Russian.
I don't know. I never looked that up.
I'm
And-
pretty sure he's German.
And he-
hold on.
and then
Google will tell us.
He comes to the United States of
Because
America.
I
And then
watched
he
the,
gets-
keep going. Sorry.
Oh, well, correct me
he
on
was
that.
born in the Russian Empire to a middle class.
Okay.
Yeah.
Brian was right.
Russo-Jewish.
Get out of the way, Eric.
I could have sworn they said he was German.
Documentaries and
But they got
videos that you watch.
Tenenbaum.
Well, anyways, no, but he was, yeah, he escapes Russia. He goes to the United States. And he gets his fortune. I forget how he gets that, but he builds the place in like around Greenland or something like that, and then he opens it up in 1949, right? And this is where
Yeah.
he wants to be away from all the stuff he doesn't like in this world, because he thinks if you cut out government, if you cut out religion, and you
Petty
let-
morality.
well, that was his
That's-
big
yeah,
downfall
that was
right that thing. The morality on what he was doing, yeah. But yeah, he builds this whole thing and it kind of blooms. Yeah, he takes some of the sharpest, most creative people and gets them to go down there. But
Yeah, he wanted to create this idealistic utopia, that's kind of away from all the plagues of the world, like the government, any threat of like nuclear war, all that stuff. Like,
and what I learned in 2 years after that, that's when Fontaine actually comes in the picture, because this is the antagonist basically. I'll get into spoiler territory in a minute here. But anyways, Fontaine is this dude who kind of is
like a
bumping
mobster.
heads. He kind of bumping heads with Andrew Ryan, and that's because this Fontaine guy, he had like another identity, and he kills the original Fontaine, who just ran a fishery, and he takes his identity, and then he becomes kind of friends with Andrew Ryan, who's communicating to him through the ocean. And then he says, hey, I should open up my operation down there. And it's just his way to get down there, and he becomes a smuggler real quick to using his fishing thing to talk to the people up above. And that's kind of where he kind of, like I said, bumps heads with Andrew Ryan. And Andrew Ryan's like, all right, this guy is doing things differently than I am, even though he encouraged this. He encouraged people to just be creative and push stuff. But he kind of, I forget what it was that was like the drawing point. Maybe, Mike, but
I can't
Andrew
remember.
Ryan, eventually something happened where like Fontaine is now the enemy, and people had to pick sides. And that was really because the drugs that they were making, basically, this atom that they found, these sea slugs in the bottom of the ocean, give you, like heals your body cells or brings it back to life or something like that. So like this one guy, had like a missing hand or a finger or something like that. And the slug somehow was on there and it started healing. So they're like, oh, okay. Now, of course, because there's no rules, morality down there, you can kind of do whatever you want with science. And they're like, we could really speed this up if we just figured out that, hey, little girls, if we inject it into their stomachs, like they'll produce like 30 times more atom on their own. And that lets people go crazy.
Experimenting with all kinds of crazy shit. And that's, a main theme of the
But that
game.
was Fontaine was doing that, and Ryan was kind of like, all right, whoa, and they were clashing.
They
because he was-
already had the little sisters. It wasn't just Fontaine that was doing it. Andrew Ryan had the little sisters too.
Oh, okay.
It was, I think Fontaine was smuggling, or he was breaking the laws, because there were actually some laws. Something, I forget exactly why they were fighting. I'm trying to look that up right now, but they were fighting for a while. And if you play Burial C, will explain like why, where Fontaine was during a certain point of Rapture, like why he's not there and things. That's all explained later. But yeah, it had to do with smuggling.
Yeah.
'cause-
yeah.
While you're playing through the game, you see because they prohibit any contact with the outside world. It's illegal. So as you're playing through the game and you're going through Fontaine fisheries, you'll see like broken open crates of like Bibles and stuff that they're smuggling in, and you're not not allowed to have religion and stuff down there. But Wikipedia says that he basically influenced over the disenfranchised working class to like.
Oh, that's what it was.
That's how he got into like gaining his power, and then eventually on that one, I forget what year it was, the New Year's party. that's when shit hit the fan, and they
1959, I think, like 10 years later after opening, basically. Yeah, dude, it all hit the fan, and that's because so Ryan is like pushing the guy who created this whole city, he created Rapture with this in mind that everything will be perfect and everybody will succeed, but it really was like people are being favored, and there was two kinds of people. You were either rich or you were poor, and Fontaine, so this
he
Adam
was a
stuff
con
is
man.
addicting. But the Adam is the Atom is a drug. It's like crack, and it's going through the whole city. And the rich can afford it, and the poor cannot. So they're fiending for it. So now they're getting crazy. And Fontaine is now like doing what he's doing, where he's getting it probably cheap and low, and just pumping it out to people. So he's got people taking his side. So now you have like an army of angry people on Fontaine's side, and you have people who are kind of like upper class, kind of protected elitists on Ryan's side. So when the party happened, that's when Fontaine's people made their move. And then the game takes place in 65 or years later. The place is in ruin, right?
Like, at a certain point, Fontaine is, air quotes, killed in a shootout, and then that's when Atlas.
Another
Atlas
guy
comes in
under the name Atlas,
but
kind of arises. But
I guess if we're listening to this, can we spoil things at this point?
I mean, it came
of
out in
course.
07. You should be good.
Yeah. But, he really wasn't dead, and he used that other alias to, like, basically lead the revolution against Andrew Ryan, which was pretty successful.
he's kind of pulling some Emperor Palpatine shit, honestly, the way he's going about this, because he's like, the only way I can beat the Jedi is to, like, create Anakin through this slave woman in the Outer Rim, in the hopes that he gets picked up by the Jedi, gets trained, I can take him and I can have him kill off the other Jedis, and then I'll be able to take over while I do all this political shit. And that's kind of what Fontaine's doing. It's like, I can't just beat him as being Fontaine, but if I create this new kind of plan where, like, all right, I'm going to be Atlas, but I'm also going to have this child that I've sped up like a clone, because, like, this 2-year-old kid is kind of a baby adult, and
that was the weird part.
That's who you are. You're Jack,
again.
and this is who you are, and you're pumped out. You just snuck off out into the surface of the planet, out of Rapture to raise, and then when they're ready to call you, they pull you in, and the whole airplane thing is all fake. Because
you're also Andrew Ryan's son too, I think.
Yes.
Yeah,
Right.
which I don't know if he raped this woman because they had her killed off.
Well, I watched the bad ending of it, and they do mention that he is the kid of Andrew Ryan in there, but.
Because you come across the body of the woman, your mother.
Yeah, she was murdered.
Okay.
Hold on, I have it right here.
There's an audio log right next to her that sounded like she was just going to have sex, and then next thing you know, she's being... Well, no, you wouldn't kill her.
Jack is actually Ryan's illegitimate son, sold by Ryan's mistress as an embryo to Fontaine.
Embryo. That's what
who
it
then
is,
had
that
Tenenbaum and Sushong rapidly aged Jack into adulthood, turned into an obedient assassin capable of accessing Rapture. So they kind of I don't know how old he was when he got sent up to the surface to come back. I don't know how long that was.
He was only 2, because when Fontaine's talking to you at the end, he's talking about, like, you were only 2 years old when they sent you under the surface. You're the closest thing I ever had to his son.
Well, he was 2 years old, but they aged him rapidly.
Yeah.
So, I don't know.
He was like,
been,
he said something like that. He's like
I did find an audio
18-year-old.
log that was like, it's like 2 years old, but with the body of a 19-year-old.
Yeah.
Which, that's kind of creepy to think of.
Yeah. That's Rapture. I mean, they put slugs in little girls, and then they go around and kill people and go, "Hi, angels," and stab them with needles.
Oh my god! Yeah.
All of this is to say, like, we've been talking a lot about the story and the lore and everything. At the core of this game, it's a shooter essentially. So, like, for the time, having the amount of story and lore
and art direction,
what is it, and this world building and everything for a shooter, I feel like was unprecedented at the time that this came out. Like this was kind of, revolutionary in that aspect because you didn't get that type of storytelling. Just the fact that we've been talking about the story and the world of Bioshock for like 15 minutes already. Like it's just insane the amount of stuff that they put into it.
Right.
It's
that's just all what we talked about, just led up to what the game kind of more or less is and is about. And
because you're arriving to Rapture after the events of all this stuff has already happened. You're like getting there at the aftermath of everything, and you're just kind of, in the beginning, as the player character, you're showing up and as Jack too, you're showing up and you don't know why you're there. You don't know what's going on. You just know that you're in this city at the bottom of the ocean and some weird shit's going on. And then, you got this Atlas character who's talking to you and you think he's your friend the whole time. And like definitely one of the biggest twists. In a game as well, but
you're making me want to actually get right into like actually the intro of the game, because I think that's where some of the most memorable stuff is. Because
the intro is iconic.
The first couple hours is like some of the most memorable setting of a game that there is.
Just when, the plane crash sequence is great when you're floating in the water. This game came out in 2007. Granted, I think we all played the remastered version, if I'm guessing correctly. Okay, good. A game that came out in 2007 looks fantastic still. You like just that shot when you see the lighthouse, the first time you see it with the moonlight and like the fire and the water, the reflections on the water and everything. Like, from the first shot of the game, it looks beautiful. And then once you get in the elevator going down to Rapture, like that shot right there, like
all of
that.
First
see the city, underwater. It's like
at the great reveal and all that stuff. It's fantastic, and you're hearing Andrew Ryan talk. And it's definitely well done, well paced. I think it's very iconic, to the point where they did it in 2 and 3. I'm trying to remember 2. I know they did it in the 3rd, in Infinite. That's kind of like their Star Wars intro. If you have to have these things, there'd be an intro to one of these things.
I am Andrew Ryan, and I'm here to ask you a question. Is a man not entitled to the sweat of his brow? No, says the man in Washington, it belongs to the poor. No, says the man in the Vatican, it belongs to God. No, says the man in Moscow, it belongs to everyone. I rejected those answers. Instead, I chose something different. I chose the impossible. I chose Rapture. A city where the artist would not fear the censor, where the scientist would not be bound by petty morality, where the great would not be constrained by the small. And with the sweat of your brow, Rapture can become your city as well.
I watched the entire director's commentary for this, which is almost 2 hours long. Throughout this remaster version of the game, you can find like these these director's commentary tapes, and you can play them in the menu after. I just looked up a cut on YouTube that kind of smashed everything together into one thing. But there was some really interesting stuff there. Jeff Keighley was interviewing Ken Levine and Sean Robinson, who both worked on the game, and there's just some really cool stuff behind like the concepts and the genesis of Rapture. They really wanted to create a world that was believable, and they needed a reason for people to want to come to Rapture and a reason why it exists, which is why they created so much lore and world building behind it, because this world needs to be believable, and you need to, as a player, you want to know why this world exists and why you're here. So that's kind of the whole mystery of the game that you're trying to solve.
I don't know if you worked on it, but this is also a big homage to the System Shock series, right?
Yeah.
That's kind of what started in the 90s.
Same guy.
Ken Levine
Same guy?
was on System Shock. Yep. This is kind of a spiritual successor to the System Shock series, because they made System Shock 2, which was a critical success, but a commercial failure. Like they didn't really sell anything.
PC only, I remember. I think.
So at first, Ken Levine was kind of reluctant to make this game because it was kind of, it's sort of related to the System Shock series, and the second one was kind of a flop. So he was, at the beginning, he was a little bit reluctant, but his team was so excited about making it that they went around to all these different publishers trying to pitch it, but it kept kind of getting shot down. And the story of how it came about is really interesting, because usually how it goes, they pitch their game to a publisher and then they buy it and then they do the marketing, but they started with the marketing first.
Oh,
So
like
they,
that trailer, dude.
So they went to an editor in GameSpot who was a super fan of the System Shock series, and he wrote a whole article on Bioshock and everything. And then like the publishers started to get interested in wanting to work with them, and that's how they kind of landed the 2K deal. So
That's cool.
it's pretty cool. Yeah.
I bet they're happy they made that deal.
Oh yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, we've talked about the lore, the world building. Let's talk about the actual game and the gameplay. I don't know. This is my first time playing it. Overall, like I said, I think the star of this game is certainly the world and everything. Playing it now for the first time, it feels like a game that was designed in 2007. That was my main gripe with the game. Like, I don't have a lot of gripes with this game. Like I said, overall, it's a positive experience. But a lot of it was, like you said, Brandon, we were talking about it in Discord. It's kind of go here, kill people, go here, kill more people, cutscene, and then just, you kind of repeat that cycle.
Cutscenes? I didn't get any cutscenes.
I mean, you had the Andrew Ryan cutscene, and like,
Yeah, I'm just
the cutscene.
it's all in world stuff. But
It's most of it. Yeah, there's very few pre-rendered cutscenes besides like the beginning and the end, but
They don't stop the action much. They let
No.
you keep going with what you're doing.
which at the time was also kind of revolutionary. Like usually you were like thrown into a cutscene that was like a pre-rendered
Yeah,
video
it felt
or
like
whatever,
Half-Life 2, kind of. That's what it felt like. This game, these games in general, these Bioshock games kind of feel like those games.
Yep, absolutely. And I'm not saying that the shooting and like the using the plasma
Totally
isn't
playable today.
fun.
It's
No,
fun to play.
absolutely.
It's just not like
I liked like the variety of options that you had for combat is pretty awesome. Like the variety of powers and guns and everything.
you would see ice. You would see doors that are frozen, and I could use my ignite ability, and I can melt that ice. Now I can open the door. But if something is on fire on the ground, I cannot freeze it. It
Yeah.
drove me nuts.
They did a couple elemental things, like you can use your electroshock to shock people in water. Like
you can
you said,
open doors with it.
Yeah, you can
here and there.
Use your telekinesis to like throw back the rockets, from like the turrets or
Yeah,
like the,
sure.
the
Yeah.
grenade
Oh,
guys.
I never did that.
I did that. I
I
guess
don't
the
either.
turns.
That's a good idea.
Yeah.
That like clicked with me when I was already like 10 hours within the game. I'm like, I bet I could use my telekinesis.
Was it
to
in the
stop,
library?
stop these fucking turrets? Probably around.
That's
there.
where I
Might have
did
been
it
before,
towards the end. I was
but-
like, that's where I was like, oh,
But yeah, because I was like, dude, these turrets suck. These rocket turrets, they
You
like
gotta
kick
shock
your
them.
ass.
I like to electrocute.
You do gotta shut-
I
yeah.
hacked
That's what I
everything.
do.
Anything
Oh.
with a computer in it, I just
Hacking, baby.
hacked the shit out of it.
same.
What do we think about the hacking minigame? Personally, I love it. I hacked the shit out of everything, and I got really good at that hacking minigame.
I didn't hate it. Like I didn't hate it, but I wasn't like I wouldn't say I loved it.
Yeah, I like it, but I don't.
I think-
it's like it's really annoying sometimes when if you don't
It's a
have
buzzkill.
if you don't have the right perks. I think it was easy in the beginning. It got really hard in the middle, and then it got really easy at the end again. Because you get these perks that like remove 4 alarms or something like that. There'd be
Yeah, I
times
did
where
put
like
a lot of the hacking perks on.
the thing that I remembered was that you can't die from being electrocuted from hacking, so you could just keep trying it over and over and
Yeah,
over
that's
again.
funny. Just remember to heal after that because if you get shot by like
Yeah.
one friggin' little
Yeah,
finger,
you're
down.
screwed.
But
If you fail a hack, it'll trigger the fucking alarm, and the bots will start coming in.
Oh man, they don't stop that shit.
I hate those things.
I don't know. That's not too bad sometimes. Like I sometimes would get caught on purpose by a camera, and then it sends the things at you. You electrocute them. You hack the turrets, or you attack the little things, and you have like little buddies that follow you.
I
around
love
and shoot
that's one of my
everybody.
favorite things about
Yeah.
Bioshock.
I probably should have done that more. Like I did that a little bit in the beginning, but I definitely should have done that more.
It's
I
handy.
should have. Yeah, I
It
should have took
helps.
more advantage of some of that stuff.
It helps
Yeah.
way more than you realize. Because I didn't do it my first playthrough, but when I played it for this episode, I took pictures of everything, and it really makes a difference.
Dude, yeah, I do really like that camera mechanic. I didn't use it as much as I should have.
You
Because
get a lot.
you get like damage bonuses and stuff for certain enemy types, right? And like their weaknesses and everything.
Up to
Oh,
like,
Yeah.
Yeah, so I should have utilized that a little bit more to make it easier on myself. But I never really think about it. And like, it's sort of annoying. You have to like switch to the camera and then you're unarmed essentially. And then you have to take a picture, switch back. So I never really took the time to do that. I was always just kind of running and gunning with everything. But
it will unlock tonics as you get to like there's like 3 levels of each, I don't know, enemy type that you take pictures of. And you get bonuses, you get tonics, and then you get another damage bonus. But then you can get a tonic later that like increases the damage bonus even further. So you can get to be a pretty nasty man, pretty nasty photographer.
Well, yeah, I probably used the electroshock plasmid the most. I feel like I was kind of leaning on that a little bit because like you can shock the enemies to stun them, you can shock the cameras and the turrets to disable them. So that's the main one I had. Obviously, like there's electric enemies later in the game where it doesn't affect them, they're immune to it, so you have to kind of switch up your stuff. But there are so many plasmids in this game that I didn't use like the majority of them. I only used a select few.
You didn't get the bee swarm?
I did get the bee swarm, but I didn't really use it that much.
Same.
That sounds weird.
It's really good. If you upgrade it, you can then kill people with the bees, then they become a bee bomb. So when people run by them, the bees attack them, and then it just continues the cycle.
That's pretty cool.
A lot of people I've met like it. I just have never used it.
I played on easy, so I honestly didn't have to go beyond the shotgun or the pistol, lightning bolt, and using my turret buddies.
See,
and that
I
was
thought
it.
about
I
playing
didn't
on
use
easy.
any grenade launchers. I didn't use any of the napalm. I didn't use any of that stuff.
What?
I had to use.
I didn't need
I
to
had to
use
use all
it
that shit for the big daddies, man.
Same, even on easy.
Oh,
I used
electric-
everything.
Electric buckshot. Boom, 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 down.
Yeah.
That's
Dude,
just
yeah.
get right up to boom, 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 down.
I don't know. This was my first playthrough, so I felt compelled to play it on like the quote unquote recommended. So I'd play it on medium.
Oh, that's much of a scavenge. Yeah.
So it was a little bit
looking
tougher.
for ammo then, right?
I don't got time.
Yeah,
for
that's
that.
what I was.
I was running out of ammo a little bit, actually a lot towards the end, especially because like at the end they're just throwing enemies at you left and right. Like they don't stop coming.
True. That's true. Yeah.
Especially when you're going through that last area. What is it? Apollo Center, where you have to go to the 3 different places to get the Big Daddy
Point
parts for the Big
Prometheus.
Daddy suit or
Yeah.
Prometheus. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Like they just fucking, the enemies will respawn too if you hang out too long. They'll keep coming at you.
That's why it's nice
So-
to hack the turrets, hack the cameras, because then they'll come back. You'll hear shit
did
going
like doing
on in
that.
like a couple rooms over, and be like, "Oh yeah, my boys are doing some work over there."
I have never hacked a camera because as soon as I see them, I have to blow them up because, like you were saying earlier,
Same.
I hate the bots. I don't understand.
I hate
how
when
you can be okay with
when the
that.
security
The
alarm
60
comes. I
second
fucking hate it.
countdown, fucking, it does suck. So bad.
Especially and you can try to hide in a corner and they will find you. It doesn't matter where you hide.
Or-
like
Yeah, I have the camouflage tonic, and you just stand still, you turn invisible, and they just fly around you. They don't know where you are.
oh, see, I don't even think I got that one.
The camouflage, yeah, that was a good one.
Mhm.
I was playing on medium too, and I ended up running low. I had to buy a lot of ammo. One thing
Same,
I did
towards
do
the end.
towards the end, which I thought was kind of like, I've never tried this before, but switched out all my tonics for like, I had one that gave me health for beating people with a wrench. I had one that increased wrench damage. I had one that increased wrench speed. And I just went through and I just brutalized everybody. I could just walk up to
a good
anybody and
idea.
just crush them with a wrench and end up coming out with more health than I did before. So it's a
That's
good
pretty
build.
cool.
It is a good
Like,
build there.
But you can play this game so differently with all the different plasmas.
Yeah,
that
that's what I was
change
gonna
your ability.
say.
Like I
Like,
don't
Yeah.
each of us
good
played
for
the
it.
game kind
Yeah.
of differently. You
because
know,
I don't
like
use the wrench. This playthrough,
I
I
never
shot
used it.
Everybody. for the
yeah, I
most
never
part.
used it except at the beginning. But yeah, they were talking a little bit about that in the director's commentary too. This game started out more like towards the RPG side. Like there's some RPG-ish elements in this where you can upgrade your abilities and assign, you can, like we said, we can have everybody have their own different like builds, like with the plasmids and the tonics and all that stuff. But they made the shift. They took out a lot of the more, like, they didn't want people spending time in menus adjusting their characters constantly and everything. So like you can only do your adjustments at like the gene swap machine. Like you're not going into menus while you're in game and swapping your stuff out. So like they wanted to keep you in the action. So I thought that was a good shift. But like you said, like the different builds that you can have in this game are pretty insane.
I like a game that stands the test of time, not only because of the art. That's like the obvious thing. Like it's stunning. The illustrations are beautiful.
The Art Deco style.
Advertisements on the wall, everything.
Dave's opening quote was like that silly sound effect. But that to me screams Bioshock when I hear it.
Dude, it's stuck in your head.
You know?
Yeah.
Like the moaning of a Big Daddy walking around is so iconic to me, you know, and it gives me chills. Even though you really gotta be like on their freaking toes for them to get mad at you. I played on easy, might be a little bit.
Brandon, I was gonna bring this up. I'm surprised you love this game so much. I mean, this game,
it's not
struggle
finishing it every time I play it. I've played it. This is probably my third playthrough.
It's not a horror game, but there's some scary moments.
It's yeah, I thought about this. I don't do scary at all, but I
feel the atmosphere of just what's happening is horror. Like the gameplay isn't, but
the violence coming up maybe.
Yeah, what they're doing, like the fact that they're taking these drugs and making these people into like superhumans, and people are trying to kill you at every turn. Everything's ruined, and
yeah, it's definitely like
the
horrific.
Horror element, but you have complete control to do things, and you're not handicapped by controls, or you have all the equipment you need. I mean, you can just with a wrench kill everybody if you want to. Just fine.
Yeah, it started out more like lean towards the horror side too, especially with like the enemy designs. Like all the splicers in the final game are just basically humans that are jacked up on this stuff. But originally the designs were more of like grotesque like monsters. So like originally the Atom was supposed to act as sort of like a physical, like it would physically deform them or like give them a physical enhancement. So like if they injected themselves, they would get like a huge ass arm, and you know,
that's cool.
So like they shifted a lot less, you know, like the horror side, because as they were designing this stuff, they kept saying like, you know, as they made them more horrifying, they started to get less and less believable. So they just ended up making them humans instead of like these weird monsters. And another thing, I don't know if you guys checked out the museum at all in the remastered version, but they have like a lot of like the designs, character models, and concept art that were, you know, kind of scrapped. So in there, the little sisters, they were originally like the gatherers, and they were like these little slug things.
I remember this, and they weren't charming.
So,
so it's obviously
they weren't. They wanted them. Yeah, they wanted them to be like empathetic, but you can't be empathetic to a fucking slug. So they made them little girls instead. And
put
then,
the slug in the girl. There you go. You're good.
Then the big daddies are like the protectors of them and everything. So, but yeah, there's some cool stuff in there. In
the big daddies are cool. I want to talk about them real quick. So Dr. Suchung, this guy with Tenenbaum, right? They were like, she's the one that discovered the slug, and she's like a genealogist or whatever, like
DNA genes.
Yeah, and
splicing.
Yeah, and her and Dr. Suchung, they kind of go to Fontaine with the stuff, and he's funding them like crazy, and they do all the stuff with the little girl, the little sisters, and they take the big daddies, and they're basically just human workers, and they basically meld them together with their suits, so they're just in them forever, and they break them up into two kinds. There's Rosies and Bouncers. So the Rosies are the ones that did the windows. They riveted the windows and all that stuff. And
you know, Rosie had a rivet gun. Rosie the Riveter.
Yeah, I picked up on that. Yep. Mm-hmm. And then the Bouncers, they did the deep sea digging and stuff like that. It broke up the rock and stuff like that.
The drills.
So that's why there's two. And I don't know if they were just leftovers, but when shit was getting crazy, the little sisters need to be protected by the big daddies, and it was hard for them to create a bond, but they got it. And now maybe you guys know this, I don't know, but they got them to have so much of a bond that I think Dr. Suchong, there's an audio log that I've listened to where he was like working on something. He's talking to the recorder. He's trying to record something. And one of the girls keeps trying to interrupt him. And he's like, gets annoyed at her and he slaps her. And then a Big Daddy gets upset and instantly kills him. And that's what kills him. But he's like a total dirtbag because he knows that he's killing people with his experiments and doesn't care or feel bad about what he's doing to these little girls. Where Tenenbaum, she actually does. She starts to regret and feels bad. So that's why she's helping Jack, the main character in Bioshock. It's like, I want to right the wrongs of what I've started here. Well, I want to save these girls.
Clinical trial protector system, plasmid lot 255. Dr. Suchong, client Ryan Industries. Very frustrating day. I can't seem to get the damn Big Daddies to imprint on the little brats. The protection bond is just not forming.
Papa Suchong?
Get away. Maybe if I modify the genetic sequence. Shush! Sure. The sequence to allow for. Get away, you filthy little shit! What? What are you doing? Get back! Get back!
You need to play Burial at Sea.
I need to finish it. I have played it.
Because okay, so because what you're describing, that audio log, that's in Burial at Sea. They talk about that.
Oh,
Part
sweet.
That's all I'm going to say.
Okay.
But
yeah. Well, we're talking about Big Daddies. As a gameplay element too, they're really interesting because I mean, apparently they started out with just like regular like money and treasures and everything. They weren't, so there was really no incentive for the players to fight them. But like the way that they designed them in the final game, like the only way that you can get at them is by fighting the Big Daddies and either harvesting or saving the little sisters.
Smart.
So yeah, they're basically
like
a mini boss fight.
You hear it, you feel
every
it.
time you encounter one. Yeah,
and you're like, all right, I'm gonna go follow the arrow, or maybe
you can
I
hear
stop.
the moaning. You can feel the footsteps.
It's like
and everything.
deafening
So
too. You're like, where the fuck is this thing?
That's one thing with the sound. Like the sound is good. It's creepy, but like you can tell it's older because like,
some of the
sound doesn't stop at
spatial
walls.
audio.
Yeah, it doesn't.
Is not good.
Like a person could be on the other side of the thing, but they could sound like they're like 5 feet away from you, and that's that's one thing that kind of you can hear the Big Daddy's way far away, and he might be like halfway across the level.
I was constantly think there was enemies like behind me, but really they were like 1 floor down or like 5 rooms away.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, running through water, especially in the remaster. I don't know if it was with the original, but with the I don't know. I was with my headphones. I thought somebody was behind me because I'm like,
I don't know if it's the remaster, but the mix is very off because the audio logs and like Atlas talking to you was very, very quiet.
Yeah, I had to turn everything else down.
I turned the subtitles on because I couldn't fucking hear what they were saying.
Oh, I didn't have that problem.
Yeah, it's weird. I don't know. I was playing on PlayStation. Well, I was playing on PlayStation 5, so get the 60 FPS and everything, which was nice.
Steam version.
And I know Brandon and Dave, you guys were playing on Xbox.
Xbox,
You had a lot of problems with crashes too.
We were crashing a lot in the third act.
So annoying.
Yeah, to and right after dealing with Ryan.
Dave lost like an hour of progress one time.
Like twice. Because
shitty.
It crashed when I went to save my game before I was like going to bed.
Ugh.
I'm like, save this game. I'm done for the night. Gets me that. And then when I went to load the save, it was corrupted, so I had to jump back to my previous save.
At least you had one.
Yeah, thankfully.
If that happened to me and I wasn't playing for the podcast, I'd probably just be like, I'm done with this game. Like I can't handle this.
That's something you never want.
It's discouraging.
You don't want it in the back of your player's mind. You don't want them to have to worry about that. Like. And then when you do have to go and save it after like every little thing that you do, it takes you out of the game because you're staring at a loading screen for 15 seconds or whatever. So
yeah. Well, after you guys were talking about getting crashes, I started saving like every time something big happened or I completed a big sequence because I'm like, I don't want to do that again.
I
never got a crash. Yeah, I didn't have any problems on PlayStation
I played it
either.
Twice, in the last year at both Steam versions, and nothing. I had no crashes, no audio issues, nothing.
Must just be something with the Xbox version.
Could be my old X. It's a 1X too. It's not very
okay.
Well, Brandon was playing on a Series X, so
true.
yeah. But this game in 60 FPS is really nice.
Oh my god,
That's
it's so
good
much
still.
better in 60. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
the art direction's really good. Yeah, the audio has issues in the mix, but the audio direction, like the art direction, the creative direction, everything.
Yeah,
is
like
figured out,
there's
and it's
such different and diverse like biomes in this game.
yeah, it never gets
Like,
boring. The
The
villains, the
Frolic,
bosses they
you have
had.
Arcadia with like the forest. Arcadia, I think, was like my favorite, like from a visual standpoint to look at. I think that was
Mhm.
like the forest place with the trees and
It is.
everything. Like I thought that place looked really, really good. And then you had the shift where they kill everything. So even like within itself, it's a different visual style halfway through. And then you got to kind of restore the trees and everything. Like I thought that environment looked fantastic.
Mm-hmm. So we were kind of complaining about some things. There are some complaints that I do have. I don't want to pick
Yeah.
on this game, but I do
No,
want
I
to say
don't-
there's one thing that it did bother me, and is I could see the development issues as I played it. Now, probably because I played this game like 3 times over or whatever, but I can see an unfinished game. There's
a
no
lot of
fucking
the-
way.
How so?
There's no fucking way that the game that they make in the first opening couple hours is exactly what they wanted to do, and then you look at the end of the games, like that's exactly what we wanted to do, because it
Well, I'm
felt
sure.
rushed. After you
Dude,
kill
I'm
off
sure, yeah.
Ryan and Fontaine takes over, it seemed like I think it becomes a B game. I thought
Well-
it was an A quality game until that happened, and the way that Ryan gets killed off, it just seems so quick and convenient, and then it's almost annoying. Like Ryan is a great antagonist. I thought Fontaine was annoying and cheesy.
That is
to
the
listen
big
to.
change. Like when it does, you are right. Like when it does, a lot of people have commented like once you kill Ryan and you get past that part, the game isn't the same anymore. Because well, one Atlas isn't the same after you have that big cliffhanger that we haven't mentioned yet.
Right.
It's not. There's something about the game that it loses some of its luster. I mean, I still love the gameplay, but it does. There's something that isn't this. It doesn't feel as that same jarring as it was, and it just kind of starts to putter out a little bit at the end.
The final fight too, like it
The
just
final
felt
fight was so fucking easy.
I was just
it was
gonna
so
say it.
bad.
It was not a good final boss fight. Like
No.
I've killed him in like 2 minutes. I'm like, oh, that's it. That's
And
the
then
end
the
of the
video
game.
at the end is just like everybody grows old and you get
Video
older
at the
and
end
die
was
and-
kind of cheesy with when you have the good ending. Which I mean, did you guys? I'm
Yeah,
assuming
yeah.
everybody rescued all the little sisters.
Yeah.
I rescued them all.
I
Yeah,
have to. I can't.
Yeah, come on. of
Yeah,
course.
I didn't.
Even though I wanted the achievement for killing them, I got to. I'm going to kill them this playthrough. Save. I just
No,
can't
Yeah.
kill
I think if
Nope, couldn't do it.
if you just kill one of them, I think you get the bad ending.
Yeah, I
I
think
can't
you have
kill
to
any of
do
them.
all of them.
I have to save them all.
Yeah, but
What you said? You watched the bad ending, Dave? What happens?
so it kind of like it's the same beats where it's like, they offered you rapture and you did exactly what I thought you'd do. You were a horrible person, and then like you see a Russian, I thought it was a submarine come to like pick up the remains of the airplane.
Uh-huh.
And all of a sudden, all these bathyspheres start popping up in the water, and splicers jump out and start
Splicers.
murdering everybody. And
That's
then
kinda
you
cool.
basically take over a nuclear missile and become a nuclear warlord.
Well, that's kind of cool.
Yeah, it's the other
I
end
was-
of the spectrum. Because you killed one little girl.
The thing there is that so Andrew Ryan did not like that the nuclear weapons were created. He was against that. He didn't like that people were using science to destroy and to shut other ones up. Oh, you have this belief and you believe this? Well, I don't believe you, and I'm stronger, and I have the science and technology to blow you up. And he thought that was the wrong use of science.
Well,
So he was actually
heard of that.
against that. For that to happen, that's fine. I mean, it's
I'm
kind of
curious
poetic a little bit, I guess.
how different the rest of the playthrough is if you decide to harvest the.
Well, it's easier. You're more
sisters,
powerful.
because they're you're more powerful.
you're
But like
actually
some of
weaker.
some of the like scenes, because you end up after you do the whole Andrew Ryan sequence, you end up at Tenenbaum's like bunker or whatever. And she's talking to you. I wonder if that cutscene is different because
Probably
she's
a-
kind of thanking you like for
Yeah.
like saving all these little sisters and everything.
There's probably
so.
less little sisters around.
Yeah,
Or
yeah.
it's
I was
just empty.
I was curious about that. I mean, I like that there's 2 different endings. But apparently originally there was gonna be like 3. There was going to be a good one, a bad one, and like an ambiguous one if you like killed some of the little sisters, but they decided to cut
This
that out.
game has one of my pet peeves, and I've only gotten it over time. It didn't really bother me back in the day, probably because this wasn't a thing. But when you play it, when you're how'd you
Is
know?
it really?
Like when you're Jack, you talk on the airplane, right? At least I think it's you talking, but like you're talking on the airplane, you're looking at photos, you're smoking a cigarette, and then the plane crashes, and then you don't talk for the rest of the movie.
He's basically a silent protagonist.
But
like,
why? I don't like that. I think that annoys me when I play Grand Theft Auto online,
especially when you're
like
a
Red Dead
named
Redemption online,
when you're a
and
named
talk.
character, like in the story. I agree, you should talk because, like, if you're, I can understand why if this is like an RPG and you create your own character and like you have ownership over that character, but this is a character in that game that exists in the world. Yeah,
Maybe the note said, "Would you kindly shut the fuck up?" when you got done reading the note before you shut it.
Oh, there you go.
No,
it's true.
Done.
Just obey. Don't say anything.
What did he say? A man chooses, a slave obeys. During the big Andrew Ryan murder scene.
I think it's just
Let's talk about that
era.
twist.
Well, one thing I want to say, just that era
bring it,
too,
yeah.
like 2007, 2006. I feel like you had more silent protagonists because you had Halo was so big at the time, or, so I think
Look
they were
at
trying
Dead
to.
Space.
Yeah,
Like
yeah, first
Isaac
Dead
doesn't
Space.
say anything.
Right.
Which is
Well, he
better.
does. Does he talk in the beginning cutscene? I
don't
think he might.
talks at all. I think he just
No,
sits there.
yeah, I think he grunts and
And you know
does
what?
some shit.
Dead Space 1 is the best game of the series because he doesn't talk. I know Dead Space is really good, but I love one.
Half-Life, he doesn't
Dead
talk
Space is
either.
good, yeah.
Yeah,
So I
Ghost
think
Recon
it's just
silent
talk.
protagonist, yeah.
That
Or
era,
Portal.
the guy. I play way too many retro games at this point. Like
Yeah.
it's an era thing. I think with Jack and Bioshock 1, and they were trying to because you look at Bioshock Infinite, Booker doesn't shut up. He talks a lot.
He talks the whole time.
But it's more of, at this time, they were trying to make you're the player, you're the character, and since you can't talk and we don't have that ability, we're just going to not let you talk. The same thing like many great games, Chrono Trigger does. So it's kind of that this era, too, I feel.
Could also be, I'm glad that I watched the director's commentary because I do appreciate this game a lot more from like a design standpoint and how they, created everything. Could also be a budgetary restriction based on what they were saying. Because like at the time, like their team was relatively small, like in terms of today's game development team sizes. So they kind of had a sort of restricted budget, so maybe they just didn't want to have another voice actor doing everything. But that's just
like I said though, like a while ago, like I said that, like I can see the development of this game. I can see when they had time, they had stuff.
Well,
made,
another thing they mentioned,
and then I see when it lulled, like in the middle of the game, it just hits kind of a bore. It's just kill.
Well, that's
go
how
to this area.
That's how Ken Levine designs a lot of his games. He does it on the fly. He was talking about this whole time through the development of Bioshock, like they were kind of building like the tracks as they were, going down it. Like they were constantly changing things on the fly and like coming up with different story beats and everything. So I could definitely see like, I don't think they had it planned out from the origin. Like they even said they wanted to start with the gameplay and figure out the story later. Right. So like the main thing that they were focused on was the gameplay, and then they kind of built the world and the story as they were going. So like maybe that
it's a great game, but it could have benefited on a cliffhanger, episodic kind of approach, But whatever. I mean, it's just when you play the ending, it just seems like it's just.
Let's just talk about the twist right now.
Okay,
because I mean,
so good.
Yeah, it's just considered one of the best.
Well, how fucked up is Ryan?
Game stories,
like everybody that's opposing him because he's going crazy. He starts like crucifying them almost, and he's like putting him like, "I got a spot for you on this wall," but it's like he knows this is his son though. Like he just knows it's right. Doesn't he know that it's his kid?
I'm assuming so.
Yes, he does.
So, yeah.
He's aware of who you are, but you're also. I think he says he makes a comment about you being like, that you were genetically altered. So I think there's a different. It's not like you were the son he had and grown up and did stuff with. You were created. I think he makes some kind of comment about you being created, so he didn't.
Okay.
That's how I look. That's how I think they meant to look at it. But yeah, it's a fucked up scene.
So I guess the twist. Atlas, who's been leading you on the whole way, saying, "Save me, wife, save me, baby," and then I'm
Well, yeah,
I'm
you think
assuming
his family got blown up.
I'm
like,
assuming-
right in
That's a
front
smart
of you.
move. That was cool. Like I felt
I'm
bad.
assuming
like,
he blew up
Mhm.
his own thing. That's how he did it.
No, Ryan blew it up. There just was nobody in. There was
Oh.
there was no kid in
Just
there
playing-
or
no.
wife. It was just people, I think.
So after
Or
that,
nobody.
after that, he's got you on a "Would you kindly go kill Andrew Ryan" kind of
Right.
binge. So you get all the way to Ryan after all this bullshit, and then Ryan's in his office playing golf, and he walks out, and he's giving you the speech about how you're actually brainwashed into. Well, you find a room before you get to Andrew Ryan's with "Would you kindly
right.
spray
yeah,
painted
that's
on the
Written
wall."
in blood or whatever.
That was
it
cool.
And
That
you
was
listen
like
to a couple
a
audio
wake up.
logs. Yeah. Audio
Mhm.
logs talk about how they brainwash people and stuff like that. And then Andrew Ryan basically kind of controls you for a couple seconds and then hands you a golf club and you proceed to bash his skull in.
So like, I guess I don't understand the scene really. Like, did he want you to kill him? Like, because he kept.
I think he knew he
saying,
lost.
Yeah, I
and
think
this
Okay.
is his.
the way I
classy
looked at
way
it
to do it.
is his dream, his world is destroyed. It's in ruins. He
Okay.
doesn't care anymore. And the reason that you exist is to destroy him because you have the same genetic code that he does, which they need to. Because he's self-destructing the place right before you kill him. Like he's like,
He knew he was gonna die.
yeah, my
anyways.
dream is over with, so you're all gonna die because I can't have what I want. Essentially,
Got it. Okay, that
Yep.
makes much more sense.
Yeah.
I feel like that's one thing. I mean, this was my first playthrough. So
There's a lot going on while you're killing fucking splicers.
Yeah, I was especially after the twist. Like, I was starting to like rush through the game just to kind of get to the end.
podcast.
Yeah, for the podcast,
No, I
but
understand completely.
also just because, like, I don't know, like Brandon said, after the twist, the second half of that game, I mean, it's kind of like the back third of the game is
Yeah.
less interesting.
I just don't
than
think
than
Fontaine
the first half.
isn't interesting enough. He got annoying to me.
Yeah,
You know, it's
he
like-
does get.
yeah.
It's just
Very
cheesy.
annoying.
Like
And then he starts taking away your fucking health and your plasmid powers and shit. I thought that was kind of cool where you started to get like the random plasmids, you know, when you didn't have control over what plasmids you were taking. I thought that was kind of a cool mechanic.
You got
I
ones
believe
that you
used a little
didn't
bit more
have.
Strategy.
Like
Yeah, you got ones that you didn't have or ones that you never used.
my idea was like this would have been cool if they did this in the first hour of the game, because if you're just curious of what all the plasmids would be like, just give us like force us to use it for like 30 minutes of gameplay where it's just randomly like, and then like that way when I go and I have money to buy a power, oh, I could use that one because I remember liking that in the beginning. Get it like as a little
You have a
demo.
point.
But again,
That
like
would've-
these guys are just making the shit up on the fly. They probably added that at the end. It's like, hey, let's add that. Not thinking, oh, if we had more time, we should have done that. Could have moved and changed things. But I mean, that's why it's, and I don't know, it's just a weak villain at the end, weak boss fight. Video
I thought,
just
yeah,
feels
the
very
ending was
quick
the
and
weakest
rushed.
part for sure.
It was
Like,
cool, like being the big daddy though, for a little bit.
Yeah, but like you weren't.
It was-
I mean, you weren't like actually the big daddy.
It was weird
like,
how that whole
Escorting
thing
the
happened,
little-
too.
But escorting the little girl was so fucking annoying.
escort
So-
missions always suck.
I
She was
lost
so
like 3 of
slow.
them.
Get on my fucking back, and we'll go to the next body. At least Bioshock 2, they can get on your back.
Okay,
I will
so
say-
you have played 2 then, right?
Yeah, I haven't finished it.
Okay,
But yeah.
because 2 does that escort thing. Every time you go to rescue one of the little sisters, you have to go and watch her and defend her like
Yeah,
you
that
did in
sounds
this
like
game.
hell.
I don't
every
like
single time.
Bioshock too much. I
the only
I
thing-
want the story, but I don't like the gameplay at all.
I hate
I love
escort
to.
missions, but I will
love to.
defend this one because if they die, you can just get another one. Like, it's not like you have to restart the entire mission, which I really appreciated. Like, I was really scared if that little sister died, I would have to do this whole fucking sequence
Did
again,
you-
which wasn't the case.
Did you notice what's on the syringe that they use? You notice the baby bottle nipple thing ever?
No, I didn't.
No.
Pull up a picture of the little sister and their syringe. It has a bottle nipple, like a baby bottle, on there. They suck it sometimes. They suck the atom out.
Oh,
Look it up.
yeah.
You'll see what I
okay.
mean. Yeah, it's real. Once you realize it, it's like, what the fuck?
They did just
Interesting.
what's
Yeah,
up.
that's
If
a
it,
little weird.
if oh, I do see it. That is real creepy.
I didn't notice it right away, and then I played this too much at this point, and I'm like, what the fuck? And yeah, it's messed up.
If we can back up really quick about
Sorry.
the story decision, like you get to Fontaine and he like whoops some behind a door that only little sisters can get through, and you've got Tenenbaum yapping in your ear like, we're going to turn you into one of those disgusting big daddies. And like, there's no way back. And you have to.
You're going to smell like shit. You're going to sound like an asshole.
Well, it looks like you have to like actually like physically modify yourself to. Because you're not.
Well, yeah,
not like
the
he
larynx
talks.
modifier thing.
So you're fucking up your throat. Like, so you're going from a normal person and we're going to be like, we want to see these little kids.
Well, yeah, remember
But
I said that.
From
Dr.
here on
Suchong-
out, all you're going to do is be able to go, and that's
Yeah.
it. That's, every time you get shot, you just go, like, dude,
Well-
like, come on. Sorry, I blew out your ears right there.
No, that's fine. So, Dr. Suchong, that's what I was saying earlier. He takes people and then he like melds them together
Yeah.
with the suit. So that's what you basically are having done to you. I actually
Sort
thought it was
of.
a really cool, but I think it's a cool mechanic though that if you do the voice one first, you will whenever you get shot, you'll have that deep sound,
Yeah,
and
for the
then
rest of the
if
game
you get
you
the
do
boots,
that.
yeah, and
Because-
you get the boots, you're running.
Mhm.
But like you're just
hear the
becoming a big.
clanking.
You're not doing it for the whole game. I mean, you just become a big daddy, and then
I
you,
wish there was more to that though. Nothing really happens other than like it changes your fucking viewport.
That-
and,
that
I mean,
was
you get, like,
annoying.
Yeah, which is annoying.
I'm talking from a gameplay perspective. Like, there's a 25% damage reduction or whatever once you
Yeah.
get the suit
I
on.
don't.
But
He
like,
doesn't.
I wish there was more.
He doesn't really become a big daddy. More as he puts on the suit.
Yeah,
where,
he
like,
puts the suit on.
the regular big daddies were forced into the suit and like brainwashed and forced. It wasn't a good thing to become a big daddy. You were
Right.
augmented. You were changed. You were. I mean, it was a punishment. Like if you in some of the diaries, maybe not in this one, but in 2, they talk about the people that are undesirables or unwantables. They took them and forced them. You know, they'd be thrown in a cell and then become a big daddy. Like it's a huge punishment.
He was more like disguising himself
he's
as
just
a big
that's
daddy.
why. Except for the voice part where you see the little metal thing come out and like fuck you up.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
so like he's going the rest of his life, and that's literally all he can say for the rest of his life.
And
is,
the good ending,
I wouldn't think he would have to do that. He could just pretend, make the noise. You know.
I mean, the good ending is the canon ending too of the series.
right.
Yeah, yeah. I would think
It
nuclear
is.
nuclear war.
I can tell you that for sure.
Yeah.
Well, plus the way that,
Sure.
the way the rest of the series goes. That out of the 3 games, that's the correct ending of canon.
Yeah.
Just good.
Something cool. One other thing I wanted to bring up. I mean, I like the whole Fort Frolic sequence with Sander Cohen and everything. I thought he was an interesting character. He had to go around and kill all these different people for his collage thing or whatever.
He's one
But-
fucked up person.
It's cool because after that whole sequence, you have the option to kill him.
Mm-hmm.
But if you don't, you'll see him later. You'll find his apartment in Apollo Heights, and he'll be there.
Oh.
And
Oh,
yeah. And
I
you
didn't see
actually
him.
get an achievement if you find his apartment. You know, because I think if you kill him, like you can't do that or something. If I remember,
that makes sense.
correctly.
That's
You
cool.
get like that chest. There was a chest that was in like a tube or whatever with a lock
Yeah.
on it.
Yeah.
You just get that basically, and it wasn't even that good.
And
it was just
well,
money and ammo.
you can also once you find him in his apartment, you have to kill him because he gets mad at you for breaking into his apartment or whatever. So I killed him, and you get the key to the chest once you kill him. At that point, so if you wanted to, you could go all the way back.
That would be
there.
so
That's too much.
disappointing.
Chest.
That would be.
I thought about
okay.
it, but I was just curious, so I looked it up after the fact. I'm like, oh, there wasn't really anything cool in there.
No.
I thought there would be like
That's too much.
a special plasmid or something.
Yeah, that's what I was hoping for. But
It's nothing that good.
Okay, well, I'm glad I didn't spend the time to go all the way back there, but I thought that was a cool little thing that you like get to see his apartment and then like fight him in a later sequence if you don't.
I'm
kill
surprised the game doesn't have you transport back and forth Metroidvania style like you do in later
him.
games.
You don't
That's
need to
space,
go back
but-
to previous areas.
No,
at
you don't.
all.
And I thought you would.
You have the option, but you
It's
don't need to.
Mainly if you miss Little Sisters to let you go back and get them. That's the main
Right.
purpose of it. Because you
Yeah.
can skip them if you don't go and get them. And then
Well, they really like hound you. Like if you leave now, you are missing Little Sisters, and it will be difficult if you don't get this
Because
Atom.
you
I'm
could-
like, yeah, okay, I got
I mean,
enough.
you could fuck yourself. Essentially, the idea is that if you didn't get the add upgrade your abilities, if you're playing
Yeah.
the hard difficulties, you're
Oh,
you're
definitely
not
on the
gonna
hard.
make it.
Right.
Yeah, if you're playing on hard, yeah.
I was
Medium,
on
didn't
easy,
really have
and I had
problems.
this ability where, like, if I get whacked, they get electrocuted. And if they would die. And easy, they just die. And I'm like, you idiot. So I was basically immortal. Yeah.
I used to know the Big Daddies, too. They would hit me, and then they shock themselves, and then I go up and hit them.
Yeah.
Yep. I use the same thing. Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, the only time, like I said, I was playing on medium. It got a little bit tough at the end because I was running out of ammo, and there was a point, I think it was like Apollo Heights with all the apartments and everything. There was just so many enemies, and I couldn't find a vending machine and I was out of money, so I couldn't buy any first aid kits. So I kept dying and getting transported back to the Vita chambers and everything. So that annoyed me a little bit, but once I got past that, I was, I got enough money and stuff to buy more crap. So,
but that's one thing.
The ending was pretty easy.
I like the scavenging for items. I think that's something that, as I play through this whole series, like when I don't, like in Infinite, you don't scavenge. I love scavenging. I do
like
Mike,
opening. Like,
you and I are on opposite
all the shit.
sides of this because Infinite was made for me. The character talks, and I don't have to scavenge because like Elizabeth can just do it for me, and I can just play the game and experience the story. Because like I hate scavenging in games.
You don't have any plasmids in Infinite, do you? It's just guns,
you have
right?
tonics. I think there. God, I should know.
Yeah, they call them tonics.
Okay.
Yeah, I think. Yeah.
Or vigors. Yeah. Vigors. Sorry.
Vigors. Yes. Nice memory. Yeah.
Because I remember playing Infinite, and I like this game. I feel like I liked this more than Infinite. But I played Infinite so long ago, it was close to
replay Infinite.
First replayed it, but like towards the end, it was again like all I'm doing here is shooting dudes. I just want to get to the end of the game, like, and that's kind of why I rushed. Through towards the end, I was just rushing, wanting to get to the next arrow and get to the end of the game. So.
I mean, part of that rush is what you were doing as a guy who has plenty of experience with that. Like when you have a deadline for a game that you're playing, it does alter it in a sense, especially if you don't do it very often. So that I think that could have been part of it too. I mean, the end of this game is very much like that, where you're ready for it to be done. I mean, especially after Apollo Square and you're running around all these fetch quests, go get this item, and I think you really are ready to be done.
Especially at the Prometheus, whatever, where you're getting the Big Daddy stuff. I just want to. I'm like, shit. I got to go to these 3 separate areas and find these stupid parts.
I played this game when it came out, man, and I remember struggling to finish it because I rented it from Blockbuster, and I crushed it in the first week, and then like I was getting ready to play like that next weekend, and I was just like, you know what? I'm just not in the mood. And I had to like return it the next week. And I remember like, all right, I got to return it. So I got to finish this game. And I remember just like, this is just boring to me. Like I like the audio. I like the story. I like looking around, but I didn't like the gameplay then.
The gameplay doesn't change from like the beginning of the game. Like it's just.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Kill dudes, hack turrets.
Unless you dramatically change up your like plasmids that you're using and the guns that you're using, like like you said, it kind of stays the same the whole time. And
like you have to use the electric bolt in this area. Done. They don't do that. They don't force anything on you, but sometimes they'll make you melt ice. That's
the thing.
And
I
was
like
creative.
More puzzles and stuff, environmental puzzles to do.
I think they wanted to.
Abilities.
I think they wanted to again, but like I said, they just probably ran out of time. I think they had to get this out, and then they added stuff as much as they could. But I just thought, and especially now, I just see so many missed opportunities. But like you said in the very beginning of this episode, the star of this is Rapture, and I think nobody's going to deny that. It's a place we want to see. I want to see a fucking TV show that takes place in Rapture for those 10 years. Just give me characters. They get in, they get out, whatever. I don't care. You could have a rift where Elizabeth comes in for an episode and she leaves. I don't care. But just give me like 10. Give me like those 10 years as a show on HBO. Make it violent, make it dark, and show the fall of it. And it leads up to the big massacre. And then the game ends. And then there's an airplane flying over out as the credits of the show starts. And you just see the airplane. And that starts Bioshock 1. Right? Give me that.
Well, it's just so interesting because like anytime you see like a window, you just want to go out and look at, the city out there. Cause
I definitely stopped and looked.
So cool and looks so interesting.
Or the shadow of fish on the floor because they're coming from above and it's just like they're just swimming on the floor. I'm like, it looks cool even now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, just the concept of the Rapture and everything.
And the music,
so cool.
Like the era. So like the music, like the era of songs that they picked.
Or some good.
Just goes with this.
Some Bobby Darin. Some classics.
Ah.
Mm-hmm.
Love that.
Well, I mean, this started out, apparently, the original idea was it's going to take place on a spaceship, like the System Shock games, but early on, they decided, no, this needs to be a more interesting environment. So they went with the underwater. And then the Art Deco theme is just, apparently the Art Deco style fits very well for a video game because it's like hard geometric shapes, so it's not a ton of modeling that they have to do. And so that was a main reason why they chose that style for this world, because it's very easy to model that type of architecture.
Well, they nailed it.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. Is there anything else we wanted to talk about? I feel like we've been talking for a while here. We've covered just about everything. I think I've said everything I've wanted to say.
No, but Mike and I are going to one day have to have a conversation about Bioshock Infinite, because I am... How dare you say that?
I said lots of horrible things, I know.
I haven't played that one in so long. I want to go back now.
But I got to finish 2, though, because I can't say anything, because you've all played them all, and I do need to finish 2, and I'm like halfway into 2.
2 gets a lot of hate because it wasn't original like this one is, but it's it controls better than this one does.
Okay.
The story just isn't as good.
Okay. But it's more Rapture.
Rapture.
And it's years later, after all this shit hit the fan, it shows you how, I mean, the city's still there because it's not going to go anywhere. They didn't blow it up. So it just shows you kind of what happens to the people years later. I think it's a couple years later.
They're all happy singing around campfires, singing Kumbaya.
No.
They're still splicing, that's for sure.
Still splicing. Cool.
And it also shows you more about the little sisters. Like, one thing that it isn't in this game, but like when the little sisters are saying, "Angel, come here," and they're stabbing the guy, they don't see the world as you see it. They've been, the way that they've been warped, they see everything completely different.
Okay.
Which you see in 2, which is something that kind of like, I'm sure the idea was there in this game too. Like, just the way that if you listen to the way the little sisters talk, the big daddies, everything was completely different to them than what it looks like in reality. They've been drug induced or however, and they don't see it that way. And that's something that's interesting to put out there.
I have to add that to the play. I got the collection now. I can go back and play them anytime I need to play. So.
I definitely want to play 2.
You should. Take a break, though?
Yeah. I will take a break after 1, and then I'll play 2 eventually.
Yeah, I would actually take a break, though.
I honestly would say go right into Bioshock Infinite's DLC stuff, because they even though it's it's the Infinite kind of era, I didn't finish it, but I did enjoy what I did, especially the first part, because you're playing Booker, but you're in Rapture and you're like a detective, and you see Rapture when it was like la-di-da and beautiful. So it's actually kind of cool.
It also completely wraps up the story of what with Bioshock Infinite and this. It does a very good job putting a bow on it.
I don't want to talk about Booker. I don't like the Infinite ending. So that's a whole other story.
I think it's genius.
That's a whole nother episode.
Yep, that's another episode. Episode 100.
Episode 100. Mark it on the calendar.
Yeah, I'll come back if you guys want to talk about Infinite. I'll gladly
Dude, yeah. We'll have to have you on again for Infinite. Well, that was a lot of Bioshock talk. With that, we will wrap up Act 2 and move on to Act 3, where we will be playing a game. I have to keep you in suspense. We'll be back after this break.
Would you so kindly?
Would you kindly?
If I didn't care more than words can say, if I didn't care, would I feel this way? If this isn't love, then why do I thrill? And what makes my head go round and round while my heart stands still? If I didn't care.
And we are back with Act 3. This time, we're bringing back an old favorite for the game section. We're doing a little bit of Metacritic Mayhem.
Oh, okay.
It's an easy one. It's a quick one. But Bioshock came out in the year 2007.
Yeah,
which was a
good
banger
year.
of a fucking year for video games. Let me just read you some games here. Super Mario Galaxy, the Orange Box, Bioshock, Call of Duty Modern Warfare, Halo 3, Elder Scrolls Oblivion, God of War 2, Guitar Hero 2, Rock Band, Crysis, Mass Effect, like Portal. Oh, well, that was in the Orange Box.
Assassin's Creed too, right?
Uncharted, Drake's Fortune. Yep. Yeah, it's crazy. Crazy the amount of games that came out in 2007. But I'm not going to do any of those, critically acclaimed games because I figured those would be a little bit too easy. Those are all in like the 90s.
Yeah.
So I picked some other games from 2007. Not necessarily, not saying they're all bad, but they're lesser than the ones I just named there. So
okay.
But these all keep in mind, all these games came out in the year 2007.
Okay.
So if I didn't even explain the game
Nope.
because I don't know if Mike knows how it
Nope,
works.
Mike does not.
Or anybody listening. Metacritic Mayhem. I have chosen 5 games that are all rated on Metacritic, and it's pretty simple. You guys basically just have to guess what the Metacritic score is of the video game, and whoever gets the closest gets a point. And that's it.
And I win.
Yep, and you win.
Hey.
Dave wins. Whoever wins goes to space camp.
Space!
All right, we'll start with the first game here. This game is Crackdown. And the platform is Xbox 360. What was the Metacritic score for Crackdown?
84.
Okay, we got Mike with 84.
I think it was pretty well received back then. I'm gonna go. Oh man, 84 is a good guess. I'm gonna go 86.
Okay.
Team Brandon is going to go 76.
Okay. What did you say, Dave? 86?
86.
Ooh, wow. Mike, you were almost exactly on. It was an 83.
Oh, nice. Yeah,
Wow.
That game did good. People liked it when it came out.
I liked it.
It's still good.
Yeah, better than 3.
I never played 3 or 2.
You didn't miss anything.
I don't. I've stayed away on. I own 2.
I was gonna say, I feel like we normally go with Metacritic Mayhem. If you get it exactly on, you get like a bonus point. So we'll reinstate that rule. But that was close, almost bang on for Mike. So that's 1 point for Mike. Next game is Burnout Dominator.
I don't even know what this is.
Dominator.
Yeah, it came out for the PlayStation 2.
That's why.
I don't know what. It's in the Burnout series. I want to say it's like
I miss Burnout
number
games.
3.
3 is
maybe?
Takedown, I thought.
Is that okay? Either it might be
Revenge
number
is
2 then. Okay,
Revenge
well,
is like 4 or something like that.
This is probably
this
like
game came out in 2007.
Okay,
Takedown's
so
the
this-
best Burnout game. So
most likely this was a situation where they had like the main series on like the new consoles, but since you have a PS2 and PS2 is such a big market, they just churned something out and threw it out. So I'm gonna guess
Yeah, I bet. Yeah.
71.
okay, 71 for Mike.
You want it, Brandon? You want me to go?
Just throw them out there.
I'm going to go, just because we've never heard of it, I'm going to say 54.
I'll go with a 78.
Oh, wow. Upper.
Oh boy,
It's in the
I don't know.
Burnout series.
I don't know what to do here. The score is 76.
Hey, we.
So I guess Dave and Mike both get a point.
Oh, okay.
Because they were both 2 off.
That's fine.
Give it to me, because I was way off.
Give it to Brandon. Brandon, you get negative 5 points.
You lose.
If you're gonna slap
Yeah.
the Burnout name on a game, it's got to be at least decent. I think. I would.
Well,
think.
this was the only Burnout game that was not developed by Criterion Games. So this was not by the
Oh.
original developer of the
Okay.
Burnout series,
Okay.
which was interesting. And it did not feature Crash Mode, so this must be a sucky game because Crash Mode's the best mode in
It's
Burnout.
probably just that whole idea that we just have to make something for the market.
Yeah, I missed the Burnout series. Paradise was actually really good. I replayed
Paradise
that a
was
couple
great.
years ago. I love Paradise. But Takedown will always be the best one in my mind.
Never played any of them. I own multiple copies. Never played one.
What? Oh, get on it. All right. We got Dave at 1 and Mike at 2.
Okay.
The next game is the original Call of Juarez. I've never played any of these games, but I've heard okay things about them.
I know. I don't know why the number 82 came to my head, so booyah.
Okay, Brandon with an 82.
77.
Okay,
Man, you guys are
David.
82, 77.
This game looks sweet.
It got a
On
couple
Metacritic,
sequels.
they have like
I played the
on
demo.
Metacritic,
It was
They
fun.
have little trailers going for each game, and this game looks actually pretty fun.
I do remember playing. It was 360 game, I believe.
They made a
do
couple of
remember
them.
it being decent, but I don't think it was that decent. Would you say, Brandon, 82?
Brandon said 82. Mike's got it pulled up right there, the 360
nice, Mike.
version.
He's got this Call of Juarez handy, just in case. You never know when you're gonna need it.
All right,
I got all
Brandon said
three
82.
handy, if you're
Oh
curious.
my
Yeah.
god!
Never played a single one yet. Never will, but I got them.
Never will.
At least he knows.
I
What
collect.
did you say, Mike, for your score, Mike? What'd you say?
71, I thought. I think.
Okay.
77, I
Or
thought.
no, he's right. 77. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm gonna go lower. I'll go 73.
David. The score was 72.
Oh,
That's a
What the
point for
hell's going on
David.
here?
Close.
All right.
2-2, Mike and Dave.
I have to go the opposite of what I'm feeling.
Brandon, you gotta get one bang on for these next two. There's two left. All right, 2007. The next game is a game that holds a very special place in my heart. The original Skate.
Ooh. I'll go first
92.
for one of these. What'd you say?
92.
Okay. 92. I'll go 87.
I will go 88.
Brandon, you went the wrong direction. You should have went one lower than Dave. It's an 86.
Oh.
They did some crazy
job,
stuff because
man.
like Tony Hawk was so big before then, and when Skate came out, they did like the dual stick tricks.
Yep. Yeah.
Skate was a big deal.
Oh,
when it came
yeah.
out.
I fucking love Skate. That's one of my favorite game series. Can't wait. They're supposedly developing Skate 4. We'll see when that comes out.
Isn't
but-
it EA, though?
Yeah, it is EA. Yeah, it's been EA since the beginning.
I mean, if
So.
it's going to be like, if you want to
There you
do a
go,
trick,
Eric.
please buy this.
Oh, sick.
There's a PAX,
Dave is holding up
PAX
a
East
deck
Skate 3.
with Skate 3. Oh my god, I want
skateboard
that.
deck.
What is this, show and tell?
Apparently, yes, I started something.
This is not a video podcast,
shit
but this
lying around.
episode should be.
I have a copy of
Because
Skate, but it's too far away
there's
from me
some
to reach.
cool
So I would've-
That was awesome.
Check out my Bioshock underwear that I'm wearing.
All right, Dave's got 3. Mike's got 2. Brandon, you got a big fat 0.
Well,
so
I mean,
there's no
whatever.
There's no way you could win this,
can take
but
away.
you
I
can
can
get some
interfere,
redemption. You can get
Is
some
it like
redemption
Jeopardy where
for
like the
this.
light turns off on me and I just stand there in the dark while the other people play? I always thought that was weird. Just
Is that
fucking
when you
standing
have,
in the
you have
dark.
negative points when you go
Shame.
into Final Jeopardy?
Yeah.
And they just black you out. That's great.
They're just not there. Yeah.
Shut up, you silencer, Mike. Get out of here. Don't look at me.
All right.
Scuzz.
Last game. We're going with Lego Star Wars: The Complete Saga for the Xbox
Wow.
360.
87.
87,
Like you got
87
these.
for Mike.
This had to be a high one, I feel like.
I'll go lower. I'm gonna go with a 85.
I'll
Okay.
go
87,
lower
85.
and I'll go 84.
You son of a bitch. Dare you.
Brandon, the Price is Right technique paid off this time. The score is an 80. on
Okay.
Metacritic. So a little lower than I was expecting.
Yeah, that is
but-
lower. That's lower, but still good.
Yep. So that is an 80 on Metacritic. Brandon, you didn't get shut out. So Brandon with 1 point. Dave with 3. Mike with 2. David, going to space camp.
Oh,
Pack my
space camp.
bags.
Congrats.
Nice. Have fun. Bye.
Bye.
Yeah, that was a super fun episode. I'm glad that I finally got around to playing Bioshock because I mean that's been one that's been on my list for a long time.
That's a big game hole
Yeah.
that you had.
You need to play
Yeah.
it.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'm
It was cool
really glad.
revisiting, man. I mean, it's definitely worth revisiting if you haven't done it in a while. Like, it's definitely cool. You know, if nostalgia kicks in, it's definitely not going to ruin it. You're going to be like, yeah, it was good. I want to play more. You know, that usually happens when you revisit some of these movies or games. You want to do the sequel. And I mean, Mike, you're saying, 2's worth finishing. Is the ending worth experiencing, though? Like, I'm probably like halfway, I think.
I mean, I'm very big about just finishing anything that you get, especially that far in.
When's the last time you played it, too? If it's
2?
more
Less than a year.
Oh, okay. Brandon, how long has it been since you played?
2, December.
Oh, okay. Then I guess you can restart it. I was going to say, if
not
it's
too
been
far
more
off.
than like 6 months to a year, I'm like, you got to start that all over at the beginning. Like, you can't just jump back in.
Depends on the game. I mean, The Witcher, I've had the same save. Witcher 3, I've had the same save
Oh,
since
yeah.
it came out. I just go back every couple years and chip away at it a little bit.
Same.
Yeah.
Which reminds me, I gotta go back and revisit that game and work on it a little
2017, I haven't played in 5 years, but...
Yep.
Never going to play again?
Sure.
Well, at this point, Mike, I'll give you a chance to just plug what your show's been up to and tell a little bit of our fans what you got in store for the next couple weeks.
Too much. I do a retro gaming podcast mostly. It's kind of like a game club. We do different games. We cover movies. We cover comics. Right now, the current episodes coming up are Donkey Kong Country 2, Rise of Tomb Raider, and Kingdom Hearts for the main episodes. And I don't know what else is coming up for movies and stuff because I alter that all the time. So, but that's what's coming up right now.
That'll all be out by the time this episode comes out.
Well, when you guys release this, pretty quickly after or a week?
A couple days.
Like okay, so you're pretty close.
Sunday, yeah. Yeah, we record on Tuesdays, usually release on Sundays.
Sunday at the latest.
And the name of your show, Mike?
Oh, games my mom found. I guess I didn't say that, but I was supposed to.
Have you played Kingdom Hearts before?
In 2002.
Okay,
and I had not touched it since then, and the game reeks of 2002.
Yeah.
Or just reeks.
It's a little tough to go back.
Yeah, it just reeks.
Well, Brandon and Dave are always poo-pooing Kingdom Hearts. I have some nostalgia for that. Yeah. But
I'm liking it, but it's stuck in the past. I'm playing the
maybe
PS2
one day,
version.
if we do the show long enough, I'll get Brandon and Dave to...
You really think you're going to get them to play a 30-hour game? I don't know about that. And I don't...
No, not happening.
We'll see. We'll see. Well, that about wraps it up for us. I'll just do our little plug-in. You can follow us at Nomads of Fantasy on Twitter and Instagram. As always, you can email us, nomadsoffantasy@gmail.com. You can visit the nomadsoffantasy.com. Find us on all your podcast platforms, all that good stuff. Tell a friend. Any final
tell people
comments,
what to
anything?
do. Nah.
No?
I'm good.
That's it?
Play more games.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. With that, safe travels, Nomads.
Beyond the sea, somewhere waiting for me, my lover stands on golden sands and watches the ships that go sailing. Somewhere beyond the sea, she's there watching for me. If I could fly like birds on high, then straight to her arms I'd go sailing. It's far beyond the star, it's near beyond the moon. I know beyond a doubt my heart will lead me there soon. Beyond the shore, we'll kiss just as before. Happy we'll be beyond the sea. And
The assassin has overcome my final defense, and now he's come to murder me. In the end, what separates a man from a slave? Money? Power? No. A man chooses. A slave obeys. You think you have memories. A farm. A family. An airplane. A crash. And then this place. Was there really a family? Did that airplane crash? Or was it hijacked? Forced down by something less than a man, something bred to sleepwalk through life until they are activated by a simple phrase spoken by their kindly master. Was a man sent to kill, or a slave? A man chooses. A slave obeys. Come in. Stop, would you kindly? Would you kindly? Powerful phrase. Familiar phrase.
Would you kindly? Would you kindly get this? Would you kindly find that? Would you kindly find that? Would you kindly find? Would you kindly get this? Would you kindly head to Ryan's office and kill the son of a bitch?
Sit, would you kindly? Stand, would you kindly? Run! Stop! Turn. A man chooses. A slave obeys. Kill! A man chooses! A slave obeys! Obey!